Hey, I hope this works. I'm not used to doing these by myself, but I wanted to show you something about chronic illness. I was working on this painting today of a wave. Hopefully you can see it. I'm working on this with this and some paint and some drywall and mud because it sounded like fun, and I'll be honest with you, I do not know what I'm doing. Now, when you look at this painting, I want you to think about if you were me and you were sitting here with all these paints in this painting, are you thinking, ooh, let's try some new colors, or ooh, maybe let's try some new colors or try something else, or ooh, no, it looks fine the way it is, and so just like leave it there because you don't want to mess it up. Well, chronic illness is kind of the same way. Your chronic illness is yours and nobody else's. So some people might say, well, this is the way you should deal with it, and this is the way you should deal with it. If you're the type that's like, hey, let's try something new, then you're probably going to deal that way with your illness. Hey, let's try something. Hey, let's learn something. Hey, let's research. That's more my type of thing. Keep trying, keep trying. Now, that didn't work, don't worry about it. Keep trying something else. Some others are like, you know what, I don't want to mess something up. I don't want to try a new pill. You know, what if it causes all these new symptoms? What if it takes me back to where I was before? You know, what am I supposed to do? Well, neither one is necessarily bad. Both of them need tempering, but both of them have their good sides. So some practical things about living with chronic illness. For one, keep painting. Don't give up. Even if you totally messed up, wash it all out and start over again. If you're the type to keep risking things, you might mess something up. You might have to go back. But you go back. The paint's still wet. You can keep fixing it. If you're the type who's like, don't ever try, don't ever try, don't ever try, then you won't learn as much. So maybe try just slower or littler, or, you know, really trust your doctor and, you know, don't listen to what everybody else is saying. Some people will say this is the only way you should paint and you shouldn't do it any other way, or these are the only tools you should work with and anything else is not going to be any good. Don't worry about what everybody else is saying. So when it comes to painting, I'm painting with a plastic who knows what and drywall. It's a cheaper version of the mixy stuff that everybody else is supposed to use. I do the same thing with medication. There have been some that I've ordered from Canada, and sometimes people are like, oh, but you don't know where they're coming from, et cetera, et cetera. We've done different things. We've tried some stuff that's homeopathic. We've done stuff that's medical. We've done some stuff that people are like, you can't do that. It's your body. It's your life. It's your painting. Some practical things when it comes right to it. Keep track of what's going on. If you are going to try something, know what you're doing and what it means. I wouldn't recommend trying 3 or 4 or 5 things at one time, because if you do have a reaction or if something does work, you don't know which one it is. So what I do is I have a notebook and I keep track of each condition and what it means and what I do for it and what has worked and what hasn't worked. Another good idea is to have a calendar that's on the wall where you can write unusual symptoms, not your regular symptoms, but things that are odd, or, you know, things that are recurring, your cycle and stuff like that, so when you do go to the doctor, you have information. Another thing would be, when you are going to go to the doctor, which is usually very intimidating, write down all your questions ahead of time. Because when you get in there, we tend to be like, and freeze up, and he comes in and says, how are you? And we're like, fine, never mind, I'm going to go home. Or you do ask 1 or 2 of your questions, and he may brush it off, and so then you're like, okay, I'm done. But if you still have all the rest of your questions, you just keep going. Another thing would be, find a doctor that you can trust who believes you. That's so important. You know if something is wrong in your body, and if you are not taken seriously about that, then keep going until you find somebody who does. That's important. It really is. Another thing would be, shop around. If you don't have insurance that covers everything, for example, like an MRI in a hospital might cost $2,000, but you could maybe get an MRI locally, or they have some traveling ones that might only cost you $500. We are with Christian Healthcare Ministries, which is a sharing ministry. They paid every single bit of my super mega expensive brain surgery, which is awesome. I highly recommend you check into that and look into it. And it's got a good support system of believers who care about you and will pray about you. What else? That's all I can think of right now, but please do remember that you're not alone. Oh yes, that is one other thing. If you're a painter, some people like to go to a group and they like to paint exactly the same thing. You know, show me how to paint a tree and we're all going to paint a tree. And that's fun for them. There are groups on Facebook for different illnesses. for the people that are like that are going to enjoy walking through this together, talking through it with each other, really working together so that they don't feel like alone. Other people would rather, I just want to sit here and try it myself and figure it out and play it by ear. And you don't want all the other chatter because you're trying to concentrate. If that's your way, don't feel like you have to be on the Facebook group, and don't feel like you have to do it with everybody else. And what you're trying, everybody else doesn't need to know about it then. That's okay. Either way is okay. And the last thing I would say is be honest. Not whiny. There's a difference. If somebody comes up to you and how are you doing, and they don't want to know the answer, that's fine. It's kind of like, I'm doing okay, move on with my life. But if somebody genuinely wants to know, or every once in a while, like say at church where we tend to fake it, I'm fine, isn't that great? God's still great whether you feel good or not. And I remember this one time somebody came up and asked me, how are you doing? And I just didn't have it in me. And I said, I feel lousy. Thanks for asking. And I felt so much better after I said that, because it just felt good to be honest. But the more I did that, the more I realized I was helping other people to be transparent. And there's people who've got a lot of stuff going on, not just physical, but really deep stuff. And church should be the one place where we don't have to fake it, where you can honestly say, I'm struggling right now. Would you sit down and pray with me? Or I'm having a tough time. I need the Lord's help, but I know that He's still good. You can use that as a testimony for other people. Say there's somebody in there who's not even a believer, and they hear you talking about, I'm struggling, I'm having a hard time, but I have the truth of the Scriptures to hang on to, and I'm so thankful that God is with me through all of this. That's like a better draw towards faith than even like, ooh, God healed me, I'm better, I'm fine. No problem. Because then people are drawn to the no problems part instead of being drawn to what they genuinely need, and that is the Lord. So you never know when actually the hard thing you're going through is going to help somebody out. So keep painting, keep trying, don't give up, and you're not alone. That's all. I'm going to turn this off now.